What is up, you guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host Ayman Hasan and welcome back to another video. Now, growing up I had a lot of Barbies and I had a lot of Bratz. Barbie made me feel like to be pretty, I had to be blonde with blue eyes, and Bratz later taught me I was like a badass, beautiful bitch, which I am. Thank you, Bratz. Either way, these dolls were not cursed, they didn't hurt me, emotionally maybe, but that's not the point. The ones on this list honestly must be avoided at all costs, so with that being said, these are the top 10 cursed toys that will leave you injured. Starting off with number 10 is Joliet. So this story was submitted by a girl who wanted to be known as Anna G. Now Anna shared that she has a century-old doll that is haunted by 4 souls. Joliet was passed down to the girls in this particular family, but it does have this awful curse attached to her. The story goes that the doll has the souls of all the boys she's killed in the family trapped inside of her. Because you see, every woman in the family had a son and a daughter, yet every son mysteriously died at 3 days old. Joliet would then get given to the daughter, who would be plagued with hearing the crying and laughing of the dead infants coming from the doll, which is just like very disturbing. Now Anna claims she knows the names of all 4 souls inside Joliet and that it was apparently a pregnancy gift Anna's great-grandma received from a friend. However, this friend was bitter and jealous and cursed the doll, and so Anna's great-grandma's son was killed in infancy, and it's been happening ever since. So I mean, with this one, girls are safe, boys in their family, if they do survive, should stay away at all costs. What would that friend even be jealous of or bitter about? Maybe they couldn't have kids? So they were like, you can't have kids either. Coming in at number 9 is the puppet. Back in August of 2015, a bizarre cursed puppet apparently choked its owner and gave him horrible nightmares. Now after getting rid of it and giving it to a paranormal investigator called Jane Harris, Jane recorded the wooden puppet in its glass case every day for 3 months. Now the blessed box has no doors, no holes, so you can't open it or lift it, so the puppet is very much inside the safe zone. The puppet itself seems to be a priest of some kind, wearing glasses and carrying a wooden cross with a rosary draped over it. Now in the recordings you can legitimately see this puppet move its hand on its own accord and tap the glass wall with its cross, and it is the most chilling sight I've ever seen. Like, there's videographic proof of this entity either inside the puppet or attached to it, and that just baffles me. See, I reckon we should just keep it in the box. Maybe douse it in holy water, light it on fire, something like that. But those are just my suggestions. At number 8 we have Daisy. Now back in November of 2018, Beliz, a Peruvian woman, said she owned a doll that was so jealous of her boyfriend that it actually caused him to leave her. The doll named Daisy was given to Beliz as a Christmas gift and could apparently move by itself and knock things over whenever it wanted. The day after she got her, all of Daisy's hair fell out somehow despite being a doll. One day Beliz randomly saw a bright light right after her Bible randomly fell off the TV and she burst into tears. She said she felt like she was surrounded by shadows and could actually see them around her. When she looked up, her face was covered in cuts supposedly inflicted by Daisy. Her boyfriend decided to leave her soon after that because he would feel like he was getting physically beat up every night, and he knew 100% it was because of the doll. Now I would get rid of it too, but Beliz is too scared to do so she hasn't yet. Beliz, let that doll go, she's not worth it, my friend. Filling at number 7 slot is Harold. So Harold was listed on eBay back in 2003, wherein the seller said Harold was the reason their cat died. Harold, how dare you? Harold's mere presence in the house caused the cat's death, chronic migraines, the end of the seller and partner's relationship, and it even caused them to hear the disembodied voices of children in their basement. So Harold is quite an active fellow, let's just say. He's since been passed around from owner to owner, the most recent one being Anthony Quinata. Anthony actually exorcised Harold and refuses to mention him ever again, so I guess we should also stop mentioning Harold as well, because he killed the cat and we don't stan, right? No. Now at number 6 is the Voodoo doll. Back in October of 2004, a woman from Galveston bought a zombie voodoo doll from New Orleans on eBay. Now when it came, it was bound and tied in a metal box, coffin looking thing, and the owner claimed as soon as she opened it, she let an evil into her home. She started having vivid, horrible nightmares, hearing sounds around her house, and would always find the doll in a different place to where she had left it. Then the assault started getting physical. She'd wake up with deep cuts all over her body, and knowing it was a doll, she tried burning it. didn't work. She tried cutting it with a knife and then scissors, neither of which worked either. She then tried burying it at a cemetery, but it somehow showed up back on her doorstep. Like this doll is coming back from the dead to be like, I'm back at it again. Now the seller she bought it from refused to reply to her emails or anything, so she was just literally stuck with this voodoo doll. She kept the doll locked in her attic for 2 years, hoping that when she moved house she would just leave it there. And obviously it's been more than a decade since she shared this story, so I really hope she has moved house and kept that doll in the attic. Can you imagine the family that probably lives in this house now has no idea why hauntings and weird stuff is going on? Yet little do they know, it's the voodoo doll in the attic. Coming in at number 5 is Charlie. Now this doll was discovered inside the attic of a Victorian home in New York back in 1986. Charlie was locked in a trunk that dated back to the 30s, and with him came a piece of paper with the Lord's Prayer on it. Which, I mean, if you're finding a doll with a note of scripture, chances are you need to douse it in holy water. Charlie himself is yellowed from age, one of his eyes has rubbed off, and he low-key looks like he's wearing a straitjacket. Just putting that out there. Now, a family ended up getting the doll and placing it on display along with their other dolls. However, mere days after they got him, he started swapping positions and knocking the other toys off the shelf, so clearly he just doesn't play nice. The youngest daughter of the family claimed Charlie spoke to her at night, but the parents dismissed it as a child being paranoid. Well, they dismissed it until she woke up one day with deep slashes all over her body, and then they were like, maybe there's some truth to that. They ended up locking the doll in their attic and then donated it to an oddity shop in Salem, because apparently everything cursed or haunted just ends up in Salem, the home of the witches. I'd love to be from Salem. Wingardium Leviosa. I love to be magic in general, but whatever. At number 4 is Elsa. Back in 2013, Emily Madonia was living life in Texas with her family and kids. Her daughter was gifted an Elsa doll from the movie Frozen, and the doll also had a button that when pressed would make her sing Let It Go. 2 years later, the doll started singing in English and Spanish, despite the family never changing the doll whatsoever. Instead of throwing it away, they never replaced the batteries, hoping it would just die, but it didn't. It kept singing and talking even when it was completely turned off. Someone make that make sense to me. The family ended up throwing it away to find it back at their house weeks later. The doll would cause their daughter's fingers to feel extremely cold to the point of pain on some occasions. Now, upon asking, the parents found out none of the kids brought the doll back, so they started freaking out. They threw it out again, but this time they wrapped it inside a garbage bag, then put it into 2 other garbage bags before putting it in the bin. That's a lot of layers. You can't get out of that one. But apparently, either way, it was collected on garbage day and that was that. But clearly that wasn't that, because after the family got back from vacation, it was in their backyard. Some hoes just never die. Elsa being one of them. Filling at number 3 slot is Annabelle. Yes, she is a real possessed doll. The movie was based on a true story, which is like the most frightening sentence ever. Based on a true story, like please no. And I know we've mentioned her and her story so many times on the channel, but I mean she is one of the most infamous cursed toys out there, so how could I do her dirty like that by not including her? That's not mean. So in 1970, a mum bought her daughter a Raggedy Ann doll from an antique store. The daughter put the doll on her bed and left her there, but soon enough the doll started changing position, and initially they thought it was because the bed was being nudged, but boy were they wrong. Annabelle would change rooms and leave notes around the house saying things like help Lou and help me. They lived in a home with other people, and the doll even strangled one of the housemates' fiancés in bed. The final blow came when the duo came home one night to discover the doll covered in blood. Whose blood is this? They called an expert who told them the spirit of the doll was called Annabelle and that she was a 7-year-old girl that was murdered and left to rot in a field where the apartment they lived in was currently standing. The spirit told the expert medium it just wanted to stay and be loved, and so the housemates let them keep it, not knowing that there was no little girl, it was in fact a demon with behavioral problems. Very different. I mean, I could say some kids are little demons with behavioral problems, I'm not gonna lie. They're annoying. Now at number 2 is Mandy. Now Mandy is an antique doll that looks like a cracked baby. She has a scar or crack running down one side of her face, and she's wearing a bonnet and old-fashioned white nightdress. She was made in Germany at the start of the 1900s, but the owner reported strange things about her. She would hear crying coming from her basement despite nothing being there. When Mandy was donated to Cornell Museum, the staff members' items started going missing and then reappearing in other places or just straight up vanishing for good. She's been known to make electrical things malfunction, once even causing a live spark to burn an employee. Visitors have shared feeling very uneasy and down when they look at her and have claimed her eyes move around the room. But she's also a low-key just cute little attention seeker. She's known to tap on the glass to alert staff, and then someone will take her out and calm her down or put her in their lap, which I think is kind of really cute. Paranormal investigators believe a child's spirit lives inside Mandy and that the little girl got trapped in a basement somehow and died down there and somehow attached herself to this doll. And finally, at number 1 is Samson. What an ominous name. I've never liked the name Samson, and I apologize if that's your name. No disrespect, I just don't like it. Now initially, Samson's previous owner had put him for sale on eBay and described him as a tiny terror, which I mean, some also describe me as. Let's be real. His previous owner shared that within 1 hour of getting Samson, a blood vessel in her eye burst. She started feeling breathless, had neck tension, saw patches of skin, and more. Samson even tortured her cat and broke stuff around the house, and I draw the line at torturing the cat. Previous owners have also claimed the doll causes major paranormal activity in the house, like flickering lights and scaring babies. One incident included Samson somehow finding its way into the baby's crib, the mobile above him spinning wildly, the rocking horse having a mind of its own, and water dripping from the ceiling onto the baby. Through sessions with a medium, it was found that the entity attached to Samson is apparently that of a little boy who was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered 200 years prior. And that is it for today's video, guys. I feel like I'm thankful that I've outgrown the age of toys now, although I still get a Happy Meal, still get that toy, but like, we're not doing toys, we're not doing cursed toys especially. Miss me with that. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. As always, I'm your host Ayman Hasan, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye! Also, Samson is a nice name.